How's it going, everybody? How the hell are ya? Welcome back to the Nerdy Jock Talk. I'm your host, the Nerdy Jock, Nick Angle, and thanks so much for stopping on by. Remember, guys, do me a favor, hit that like button, smack that subscribe. We're trying to grow the channel, and I want to get it out earlier, and I'll probably remind you later on. This is the second video where we got my main man X on the other side of this, recording everything, editing everything. I'm recording it, you're editing it. And we're doing things together, which is super fun, and I'm so glad that he's on board. Let's get into something that I have been wanting to do for a while. Now, I did a top 10 superheroes list on the last one. Now, I want to do a top 10 NHL dynasties, although I'm going to say it now, there aren't 10. X, do me a favor. Do you got like a wah, wah, the one of those sounds? Just do it now. Did you do it? You did the thing? Perfect. All right, guys. I'm going to do this in a different order than I did the superheroes, just because I think it was more fun doing 10 to 1. I'm just starting at number 1 because the first few are kind of self-explanatory. They are the old guard, if you will, and we get a little bit into new guard later on. But number 1, let's just get this out of the way, okay? It's the Montreal Canadiens. And I don't care what anybody said. You can't argue it, all right? There's no going back. Like, look at a history book of the NHL. It is what it is. They're the best team dynasty, period. They have the best team ever assembled. They are number 1, okay? They got 24 Stanley Cups. They owned the 50s and the 70s, and the 40s and 60s and stuff are like a little bit back and forth. But they owned the 50s, they owned the 70s. You just can't argue it. Guys, they won like 5 cups in a row. Nobody else has done it. All right, coming in at number 2, and it pains me to say it, but I gotta say it. It's the Toronto Maple Leafs. And again, these are all pretty self-explanatory. If you go back to the 60s, it's pretty much Toronto's turf, although they had great battles with the Habs all throughout the 50s, the 60s, and then that was kind of it. But they had an absolutely great run. They got 13 Stanley Cups. They're sitting there in the banners at Scotiabank, I believe it is now. It should still be ACC, but whatever. Guys, these are the 2 franchises that they hold the mountaintop. I mean, you got 1, you got 2. Everybody else is like coming in at number 3 and down. You can't reach them anymore. It will never happen. You can't win that many Stanley Cups. You can't win that many in a row. It's just unattainable in today's NHL in the way the framework has been built. It's unfortunate. We all want to see dynasties, but it's just never going to happen. So Montreal 1, Leafs number 2. All right, coming in at number 3, this might be a controversial pick. I don't think it is, but I've got the New York Islanders at number 3. Now, if you don't know, watch some tape from the 80s. These guys were absolutely the most dominant after sort of the Leafs and the Habs. In the 80s, they've won 4 Stanley Cups in a row. All right, they went to 5 where they eventually lost to the Edmonton Oilers. But everyone in Edmonton who seems to think that they had a bigger dynasty than the Islanders, you're kidding yourself. You didn't do 4 in a row. You had a hard enough time doing 2 in a row. So let's cut this out. The fact that you've all of a sudden become the city of champions is ridiculous. It's almost as ludicrous as Green Bay Packers fans. But, yeah, New York Islanders, without question, are in at number 3. Say what you want, but these guys are absolutely killer. Anyway, I got Islanders at number 3. I hope that makes a couple of people very happy, especially people that I know and probably watch this. But following them up at number 4 are the Edmonton Oilers. You have to put them in at number 4. They had the greatest player to ever lace up skates play for their team in Wayne Gretzky. There's a reason why we call him the Great One. And hell, they even won one without him, which is a bit nuts, but it kind of shows you how stacked that team actually was. But like I said, they won 2 in a row, and then they lost, and then they won 2 in a row, and then they lost, and then they won 1. And yeah, okay, they got 5 cups. But you don't get higher than 4, people. You just don't. Even with the great one, and with, you know, an absolutely gem of a goaltender back there. But Paul Coffey, Mark Messier, like, go down the list, guys. It's a great, great lineup. But yeah, no, they're only in at number 4 for me, and it is what it is. All right, this is where it starts to get tricky, I think, when we're talking hockey, because now we start to transition out of the 80s and 90s. You know, we're getting into the 90s, the 2000s. This is where the league has expanded. The talent pool is now all over the place. This is not the NBA where you had guys moving around a lot more, although that has only really happened in the NBA recently. It's a weird time. But my next pick, the Detroit Red Wings. And the reason why I've got the Detroit Red Wings, from the 90s and into the early 2000s, is really their absolute dominance of being relevant all the time. Like every year, you kind of, Steve Yzerman, once they won that cup, they won the 2 in a row. Every year you were looking at them like they could do it again. They could absolutely do it again. And it was playoff after playoff after playoff after playoff after playoff after playoff. It was absolutely crazy to watch these guys every single year into the playoffs, making noise and being a genuine threat to win that Stanley Cup year after year. Again, you're not going to see that anymore just based on the salary cap, and I really think they were the end of that breed of team. There really isn't anybody else that's going to come even close to that. And so there's that sort of line in the sand when it comes to the rest of these teams. Now let's get into those. All right, coming in at number 6 is, I think, the team that dethroned the Detroit Red Wings in the Pittsburgh Penguins. Yeah, those guys. And I know there's probably a ton of Chicago Blackhawks fans, and I don't even know who else, LA Kings, kicking and screaming, even probably Boston Bruins fans. But no, the Pittsburgh Penguins, not only did they go to the Stanley Cup against Detroit and lose, they went to the Stanley Cup again the next year against the Detroit Red Wings and won. That's almost unheard of to get the same 2 teams to go back-to-back Stanley Cup finals. It was a crazy time, and I loved it, but they really were the guys who the torch got passed to. They were the next dynasty. Now, did they fulfill that? They won 1. Crosby gets hurt. There's a lot of things going on. And eventually they get back to it where they win 2 in a row. But they're the team for me that's the dynasty because they were relevant for well over a decade. Every year you looked at Pittsburgh and went, okay, like, yeah, these probably do it. And obviously it got harder and harder, and then the salary cap comes in and all that stuff. They were the ones that set the standard for the new NHL. It was Crosby, it was Malkin, that set the standard, and Fleury and Letang. If you didn't have those guys, you weren't going anywhere. But that also brings me to my next pick, which is the Chicago Blackhawks. And yeah, I put them in under the Pittsburgh Penguins, and everyone's like, well, wait a second. Pittsburgh only won 1, and then they won 3, and then Pittsburgh won their next 3. Yeah, but guys, the Chicago Blackhawks were relevant for a grand total of 5 years. Maybe 6. You're not a dynasty if you're relevant for that short a time. Less than a decade? Come on, man. You don't make the jump to the top tier. You just don't. Crosby and Malkin and the Pittsburgh Penguins were always there. They had stumbles. They had roadblocks and all that other jazz. Crosby gets hurt a bunch. There was a time where people didn't think he was going to play again. I think we all forgot that. But yeah, unfortunately, I think the fire burned bright and hot for the Chicago Blackhawks and then burnt out and fizzled very quickly. So it was there and then was gone. The exact same thing happened with the LA Kings. And I don't even have them on this list. So there you go. All right, now we get into the 8, 9, and 10. And like I said, there really isn't 10 teams that are technically dynasties that you can put on this list. But I guess you can make an argument for Tampa Bay that has just won 2 in a row. One during this weird COVID season, and then one subverting the cap. So there's that. But I would actually put the Colorado Avalanche, who fought toe-to-toe with those Red Wings back in the 90s after the Chicago Blackhawks. And I think, again, a team of relevancy that held that relevancy for quite a while. They had arguably one of the best goalies you could have in Patrick Roy. And Forsberg, Sakic, I mean, they are a great team. So while they only won 2, I can't put Tampa Bay ahead of them. I just can't. Tampa Bay just showed up to the party. And yes, they've been around a long time, but both of their wins, I guess, is the easiest way to describe it. For both of their wins, one, you had this weird COVID time, and teams were just, I don't know, it was a whole weird thing. And you're playing in 2 different cities, and you're only playing in 1 rink. And then you subvert the cap the next year. And again, all power to you. Well done to, figure out those rules. But Colorado, personally, I think they're a better team than the Tampa Bay Lightning are right now. And you can fight me on it all you want, but Sakic, Forsberg, Lemieux, Adam Foote, Rob Blake, Patrick Roy on net. Those are Hall of Famers. So Tampa's down that list. And then after that, yeah, sure, I guess put the LA Kings in at 10. Who cares? At this point, it doesn't matter. Because it's just so hard to actually create dynasties now. All right, guys, so that is my top 10 sort of list of the greatest NHL dynasties out there. If you agree, let me know. If you disagree, let me know. Talk to me in the comments down below, guys. They're right down there. I'm going to link my Discord. We'll start a Discord server, so I'll put that in the description down below. But again, guys, remember, do me a favor. Hit that like button. Smack that subscribe. Just trying to grow this channel. X, thank you so much for doing all this. And remember, guys, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, remember, it's always game time, baby. Let's go!